Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folari. It's all over the news. The National Assembly is in it again, not necessarily for the right reasons, according to many, because we're talking about the battle against corruption in the country. And it would appear the National Assembly and the executive not being on the same page. Of course, you know what we're talking about. The executive insists on Magu as that he will continue to head up the EFCC. If not as a confirmed official, then he will continue in his capacity, as the Vice President put it, paraphrasing him, as long as Buhari and I remain in office. This is against the backdrop of the National Assembly, in particular the Senate, saying that it's not going to consider any other appointments until their wishes on the whole Magu affair has been respected. Again, that's from Senate President Bukola Saraki, that the executive should respect their position on the matter that Magu, that office, the nomination for that office should be changed. They don't want Magu. They are not going to approve Magu. But the presidency says, sorry, it's not going to happen. He will stay. So it's everybody, I mean, both of these two parties must be relying on some aspects of the law. And because of that, Dr. Tunji Abayomi is here to help us out. Dr. Tunji Abayomi is a constitutional lawyer. Thank you very much for coming on, Dr. Abayomi. And Mr. Adetokunbo Mumuni is a lawyer and executive director of SERAP, Socio-Economic. There you go. It's another form of anti-corruption. So thank you very much. You're a stakeholder. Dr. Abayomi, why, I understand that the law, as a matter of fact, is probably contributing to this whole quagmire. Whereas on the one hand, the act setting up the EFCC does require that the Senate approve. The Constitution, however, does not require. So there's that problem. Could you explain it to us? And where is this going to come down? On what side do you think it's going to come down, ultimately?
Well, it's important first to understand the issues.
Sure.
Section 171, 1D provides that the power to appoint persons to hold or act in the offices to which this section applies, and to remove persons so appointed from any such office shall be vested in the President. And then it now noted in 1D, the offices to which this section applies includes permanent secretary in any ministry or head of any extra ministerial department of the government of the Federation. And I want to emphasize the word however designated. Extra ministerial, head of any extra ministerial department of government or federation, however designated. The power to appoint and to remove is exclusively vested in the President. Now, EFCC is an extra ministerial department, however designated. Designation, whether you call it EFCC or anything, is covered within that provision. However, the Act itself, EFCC Act in Section 2.3, provides that the chairman and the members have to be confirmed by the Senate. So there's actually a conflict between the law passed by the Senate and the Constitution purportedly made, I say purportedly, yes. You know my position on the Constitution, sure. Purportedly made by the people. The principle of Constitution is that if there is a conflict between the law and the Constitution under what is called the doctrine of repugnancy, the law falls and the Constitution prevails. That is the position.
Well, it seems simple enough.
Yes.
So, maybe let me come to you here now. I'm going to bring this so that we can understand it. Those of us that are unlearned, as you lawyers like to say, why is there a problem, since it's as clear-cut as Dr. Abayomi has explained? There are many eminent lawyers in the National Assembly, as there are in the executive. He has just explained the law aspect to us. When there's a conflict between an act or any law and the Constitution takes precedence. Why are we then still making a song and dance of this?
You said there are lawyers, eminent lawyers in the National Assembly. I want to say they have turned political lawyers. Dr. Kuntunde Abayomi, from his antecedent, is not a politician. He's a lawyer, strictly speaking. And he has given us the direct, clear interpretation of whatever we may be having ambiguity about.
But on point of correction, yes. Dr. Abayomi is a politician.
He's a professional.
He's a professional in politics.
That is what I do.
Thanks a lot.
Yes, because I became a lawyer 27 years ago. And I have known Dr. Abayomi as a consistent legal practitioner with integrity.
Indeed.
So when you now say
but he would have been governor, in his home state if all had gone according to plan.
It is not too important that he contested once.
Not at all.
But we know him as a lawyer.
No
when you were introducing, you said a constitutional lawyer. You didn't say a politician. So the point that Dr. Tunde Abayomi is saying is that it is pursuant to Section 1, subsection 3 of the Constitution. Once there is any law that is not consistent with the provision of the Constitution, that law becomes null and of no effect to the extent of its consistency. Now, what I would have advised, it is the Senate that is bringing this issue up. Says we have a right to confirm. Now the executive have said it is not possible. You're right, we know where it ends. We know what we have as our power. Now, the Senate should just invoke the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court, set a matter down for it. There are few things. Let the Supreme Court pronounce on it. It won't take 3 months for the Supreme Court to deliver this ruling, this judgment. It is a one and for all thing. The Senate of the Federal Republic can go to the Supreme Court directly. The executive too can go to the Supreme Court directly. But I see the Senate is the one that is arguing about this matter. Let them go to court, because so that will be resolved once and for all.
Indeed, the words, paraphrasing the words of the Senate President, that the executive needs to respect the rejection of Magu. Of course, we know where all of that is going.
Yes.
We know the opinion of most reasonably thinking members of the public on that point, in the light of the explanations you have given. But where does, by the way, where does the National Assembly come from, the Senate? Where does it come from in its rejection? It seems to be citing a DSS, report that is as its main plank, that there is an issue of integrity against the acting chairman.
But it is important to appreciate that that's really not a more serious issue. If in fact the confirmation is consistent with the Constitution, the Senate may confirm or refuse to confirm, even if there was no reason. It's within its the prerogative to refuse to confirm, even if Magu was the best person. If is required to be confirmed by the Constitution.
Exactly.
So the position of the Senate, and I do agree with him, really, because what the executive is saying is that we are bound by the Constitution. Let's understand something. The president has only one job in the Constitution, only one singular, all-important job. Apart from the jobs given to him by the Constitution, such as appointment of ministers, ambassadors, prerogative of mercy, and so on and so on, the president has no other job other than to obey, to execute the Constitution and the laws. He has no job
in fact,
other than to execute the Constitution and the laws.
And in addition to executing, isn't there something about swearing to defend the Constitution as well?
Yes, when he takes the oath,
yes.
That is it. So now, what is the president is saying is that, as I understand the Constitution that I swore to defend and uphold and execute. I don't have the necessity. I'm not required to go to you. Although there is that law. On the other hand, the Senate is saying, by the law that we passed, the truth of the matter is that the Senate ought not to have passed a law that is inconsistent with the
because that was what was going to be my next question. That how did this slip between the cracks?
Yeah, so
how did this slip between the cracks?
I was going to say that. So now, really what we should be focusing on, I don't think there can be a serious disagreement on the fact that heads of extra-ministerial departments need no confirmation from the Senate. However, now we've got a conflict between the law and the Constitution. So where do we go? We now be talking of resolution. How do you now resolve it? In my view, the resolution neither belongs to the executive nor to the legislative department. Resolution of cases and controversies within the Constitution is a prerogative of the judiciary. That's why the Constitution says the judicial powers of the Federation shall be vested in the courts to decide cases between persons and authorities and between authorities. And in this particular case, like he said, the original jurisdiction in conflicts between the National Assembly and the President is vested in the Supreme Court.
Okay. Talking about, give me your views of the role of the Chief Legal Officer of the Federation, aka the Attorney General, in this whole logjam it has become. I mean, his role in the resolution, in trying to resolve all of this.
Now, whatever opinion the Attorney General expresses, we know he is the Chief Law Officer of the Federation. Whatever opinion the Attorney General expresses, I don't think, if it favors the executive, as he's a member of the executive, I don't think the Senate will want to have it. Now, like Dr. Abayami has said, resolution of conflict generally in a democracy, in a civilized environment, is vested in the courts. Now we have a controversy, namely the position of the executive and the position of the legislature. So either of the party can approach the Supreme Court to have a clear, definite pronouncement on this matter, so that we don't get to this grandstanding and attempt to blackmail. Yeah. We don't get to it.
Because the statement made by the National Assembly, shall we say the Senate, and what is probably will mean the National Assembly ultimately, that they are not going to be, so to speak, at home to consideration of any other approval sent to them until their will is done on this particular one. Now, that's what do you think about that?
Well, first and foremost, that's not the way the legislature is expected to behave. There is what I would call a tolerable constitutional behavior in a democracy. Now, the first thing is that it must be appreciated that a mere resolution of the National Assembly is not binding on the executive.
Okay.
A resolution that, oh, you must do this, they don't have it. The executive has no duty to respect a resolution, but it may be persuasive.
Okay.
Yes.
In the attempt to have a smooth relationship with the National Assembly. If the National Assembly now gives a resolution that it will not do something unless the executive, and the executive is of the view that what the National Assembly is asking it to do will be contrary to the Constitution, I think the executive will stand by the Constitution, because both the legislature and the executive, they are bound by the Constitution, as imperfect as the Constitution. So in my view, it is wrong. I think what the National Assembly should do is just very simple and straightforward. It should go to court and ask the Supreme Court to determine whether Magu, who is rejected by its decision, can still preside over AFCC, having regard to Section 171(1)(4) of the Constitution.
Although the law, everybody's maneuvering within the law, Magu is acting chairman as a sort of a stopgap measure pending the resolution of all of this, not chairman as the executive wants. And apparently that's also...
There's really nothing like acting chairman. It is wrong in the first place to talk of acting chairman.
I'll come back to you so you air that point. Let me bring in Mr. George. Good morning, Mr. George.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling, sir.
And good morning to the panelists.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Uncle Yori, Nigeria is the only place I have seen lawmakers who do not even know the law.
Yes.
Many of our lawmakers, especially those in the Senate, do not even know what is contained in our Constitution. We that lawyers mock as ignorant. Some of us have read through the Constitution. That's Section 171 that the lawyers are talking about. I've read it. And it is very clear that the confirmation of the EFCC chairman ought not to have gone to the National Assembly in the first place. If the National Assembly is not happy with it, don't they know what to do? They know what to do, but I can tell you, Uncle Yori, they will not go to court.
Yes.
Because they know that they don't have a ground. It's unfortunate. This mistake that the president made from the beginning will haunt this administration till the end of this tenure. By allowing somebody of a questionable character to lead the National Assembly. And everybody now, it has now become, the question everybody is asking now is it the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria or the Senate of Saraki? Everybody in the Senate is now Saraki's loyalist. We don't even know whether there are senators that emerged on the platform of the APC anymore. They have all been muted. I can't believe that this is a Senate that has people like Professor Adeyeye. I follow that man's profile, and his academic and, integrity is not in doubt. All those people, where are they? We don't hear about them anymore. What has happened, Uncle Yori, and how did we get here?
Yes. Well, thank you very much.
Magu is not going anywhere, and all people of good conscience in this country are behind Magu.
Indeed.
That is it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Indeed, the front page of The Nation this morning is, quoting the Vice President on the matter to underline it that, quote, "We have every confidence in Magu to fight corruption to a standstill. He will remain the EFCC chairman as long as I remain the acting president and as well as Muhammadu Buhari remains the president. It is our belief that Magu will continue to remain a nightmare for corrupt people for years to come." Just took that out. So it's like the gloves are off now. If we were, this kind of a statement has been made. If the Senate wants to stick to his guns, somebody as Mr. Judge just said that, he'll be surprised if they go to court. Maybe my question is, okay, so two things. One, he did point out that, in his opinion, a mistake was made in the first instance by going to the National Assembly for approval for the chairman of chairman of the EFCC. Well, so what, if that is indeed a mistake, why doesn't the executive approach the Supreme Court? Because they could, just as you have explained, the National Assembly could as well. So why is the executive letting it drag on in the light of what you've just said?
Well, the point is that it's not the executive that is hurting now. It is the legislative. The National Assembly is the National Assembly that is vexing the most so that the law we passed was not obeyed. So the complainant, the constitutional complainant, is actually the National Assembly, not the executive.
Okay.
You understand what I mean?
Let me even tell you.
You go ahead.
Let me just even say that generally the person who is in possession
Yes.
don't have to go to court.
Yes, yes.
It is when you want possession that
you're
you go
contesting
to
that
yes.
possession. Mr. Abdul in Ilorin, good morning, sir.
Morning. Good morning, sir.
Go ahead, please.
I just want to add to what Mr. George
Yes.
just said. In fact, the entire country is embarrassing with what is happening. The entire country is embarrassing. Because what is happening in the National Assembly, regard to the Magu issue, it is embarrassing. And in respect of the man calling the last caller, he mentioned the person leading the National Assembly. We will not have peace if this man continues leading the National Assembly in this country. We will not have peace. Because we from Kwara knows him very well. So we are praying whatever this government can do to remain and retain Magu, they should please do it. Please, whatever this government will do, call on the government and help us to talk to the government. We are in support of this government, and we continue supporting this government.
Indeed.
But I believe with the man in charge of this National Assembly, there will not be progress in this country.
Well,
there will never be progress. Please, we are begging on behalf of the Nigerian masses for this government to please, whatever this government can do, they should do it at the time Magu, and let Magu fight corruption to stand still. So
all right.
That's my contribution. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you very much. Your opinion there.
I just wanted to add something. It's important to understand that the Constitution talks of three situations. It says the power to appoint persons to hold or act in the office to which this section applies, or to remove. In other words, if the National Assembly is saying that Magu should go, it will amount to usurping executive power.
Yes.
Because the power to act in that office, to hold that office, to act in that, or to remove a person in that office is the prerogative of the president. And it's not a prerogative that is subject to the authority of the National Assembly. So, you know,
it seems to me that most right-thinking members of society will consider that the Senate is actually skating on very thin ice, but they still are skating with as much gusto and, all sorts of gymnastic styles. But let me bring in Mr. Usman from Ikoyi. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling, sir.
Thank you. Good morning, Dr. Abayomi.
Yeah, morning.
Executive Secretary Serap.
Thank you very much.
I want to congratulate you for your recent victory.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Uncle Yori, you see, let me use this opportunity and thank the acting president for the stand that he took on the issue of Magu. This is nothing but corruption fighting back. The moment they drop Magu, I am telling you, the fight against corruption is zero. Whoever they are going to bring, he will never in any way touch the National Assembly or step on toes because he is scared of what happened to Magu will happen to him. Therefore, he will not do their bidding so that he can get confirmed. What is the problem of Magu? Yes, Magu is not the only person that can fight corruption, but Magu is the only one that has his character. Nobody in this world has the same character. Everybody has character. And the fight against corruption has that characteristic in that person. Idiosyncrasy matters a lot. So all this hula value that the Senate is doing, what does the Constitution say? Why wouldn't the Senate go to court? The acting president did not say all confirmation that cannot go to National Assembly. But he was specific as to the one that cannot go to National Assembly. He did not say all confirmation. He said this one does not need National Assembly. So what is the problem? Why won't they do their job? And besides, where in the Constitution or in their own regulation that said if a person is not confirmed, that person should automatically be disqualified. Where is it in the Constitution? The only thing that the power that the Constitution gave is confirm or not confirm. It ends there. If you confirm, fine. If you do not confirm, the executive maintain that person. That is not their business. We are here in last dispensation. Oruma Ote was not confirmed. Yet the executive kept her there. And they haven't known for why is it that this time around the Senate president is hell-bent on removing Magu? Is it because he has corruption case hanging on his neck? Is he clean? If Magu should go on what ground? If it is the DSS report was given to the Attorney General of the Federation. He investigated it and he cleared Magu. So on what ground are they saying that Magu should not stay? What is the problem? The Senate president from his seat there, he goes to court. And from court, he comes back. What is the moral justification of that? So many senators there, and from there, Senator Goji, from there, he goes to court. He comes back to his seat. Who asked him to vacate his seat? So please, they should not concentrate, because we Nigeria, if they are presenting us Nigeria, so we Nigeria are saying that we want Magu, and Magu should stay. Magu is going nowhere.
Indeed. Thank you very much for calling in. Magu is going nowhere, according to the acting president, speaking on behalf of the president, that he's going nowhere. But we have this quagmire. Now, just about everybody who's called in so far has mentioned Senator Saraki, the Senate president. Their perspective is probably going to be that it's the Senate, it's not about me. But I don't see how Senator Saraki can absolve himself of, somehow, not being on the side of his own party and party leader and objectives of his own party, which is to fight corruption to a standstill. The way he is perceived, never mind what he might think is the actuality, the way he's perceived is that he's being a cog in the plans of the ruling party. Would you agree with that?
You see, from day one, probably due to the circumstances under which Saraki emerged as the Senate president, and the position of the executive that should not stand. Maybe there are still some beefs.
Yes.
Yes, and that's the way I see it. And that should not be.
It shouldn't be.
If it is not a personal thing, it is about Nigeria, it's about the common man.
Yeah.
The executive has configured a plan that we must root corruption out of the psyche of Nigerians. And you see, the arms of government are three. They are not supposed to be subservient to one another, but they must work cooperatively and coordinatingly.
In the best interest of Nigeria. In Nigeria. Let me bring in Mrs. Amadi. Good morning, Mrs. Amadi Oshodi.
Good morning, Mr. Yori.
Good morning, ma'am.
How's the family?
Very well, thank you.
The Magu case is just unfortunate that the members of the National Assembly, they forget that they were voted in by Nigerians. And they themselves could be thrown out by the same Nigerians that voted them in. They don't want Magu because they don't want to be proved. The presidency wants Magu so that corruption could stop in Nigeria. Why is it that the National Assembly does not want corruption to stop in this country? Why? Why don't they want the progress of this country called Nigeria? What is the problem with them? Are they the first National Assembly in Nigeria? Are they the first? Are they the first in the world? It's very sad. Somebody should tell them. Look at the Koremadu changing the laws over Dino Malayi. Why should he say that? Why should he make the statement he made over Dino Malayi that he cannot be thrown out, the people cannot vote and remove him? Why should he say that? I'm not in the Constitution. Why? Are they above the law? They should tell us. If they don't want to serve us, they should tell us. They should go.
Indeed. Thank you very much for calling in.
Thank you very much. God bless.
Thank you, ma'am. The Senate, I would guess, from where I'm sitting, doesn't seem to care too much about its PR image out there. It's just put its head down, it's kept its blinders on, and it's just not changing its tune. Change Magu or less, or else we are not going to agree to it, and that's an impossible situation.
It's quite an extraordinary demand in a constitutional setting. It is as if it's a personal war,
which it should never be.
Which it shouldn't be. The question is, your act as a Senate must conform with the norms and decorum of democracy.
I beg your pardon, sir. I got to go to a break now. Welcome back. We still have Dr. Tunji Abayomi, constitutional lawyer, and Mr. Adetokunbo Mumuni, lawyer and executive director of SERAP on. Now, the other question is, if a foreigner were just, he went and typed in Google search, Nigeria news latest, and read all of this, I wonder what impression he's going to have. Because questions that come to my mind is, look, this legislature, this National Assembly, maybe as a foreigner, just reading the news reports, I might ask, how loyal is this institution, one, to the ruling party, since they have a majority, two, to the Constitution of the Federal Republic, and then three, loyal to Nigeria itself, which they all swore to come on and work at to make better. And here we are, we want to take out what everybody knows is a cancer worm, and the National Assembly is being difficult. And I said before that I doubt that the National Assembly cares very much about its public image. It just is put its head down and is going. What do you think about that whole aspect? Why are they not worried that the people here that we represent, none of them, very few of them see it the way we see it? It's another form of impunity, perhaps, Dr. Abayomi.
Well, the problem really is that we're actually going through what I would call a period of constitutional testing in the country. And during this period, largely, most of the institutions, especially the executive and the legislature, are basically essentially weak, particularly the executive. Now, a lot of cases should have been tested. We will take a simple case of budgeting, which I have spoken about again since 2002. I've been on this issue. I even wrote a letter to Pius Anyum as president of the Senate, telling him that they had no power to budget, to create budget head, to create constituency, and so on and so forth. How can you budget and at the same time approve budget?
Yes.
In a democracy.
One moment, sir. Let me bring in Professor Ralph Akifele of University of Lagos. Good morning, sir.
Professor Ralph.
Good morning, sir.
Professor Ralph, how are you?
I'm fine.
Yes.
Am I on the show?
Yes.
Yes, you are on. Please go ahead, Professor.
Good morning, my dear brother. How are you?
Fine.
I want to congratulate the panelists, especially my friend Tunji.
Yes, thank you.
I just want to congratulate the panelists and yourself, and also try to advise.
Please go ahead. Don't listen to the echo. Thank you.
I want to congratulate you and also advise the National Assembly people, especially the senators.
Yes.
They call them distinguished senators, honorable senators. For my judgment, I think that distinction. Hello.
They are not the honorable ones. They are the distinguished ones.
That distinction and the honor is fading away. And I will advise them to deal out the president, the vice president, acting president from the deal. Magu should be the person. They are getting to what you call melodrama. They need to be advised that they should face the job they are faced in to do. I.e., so many states are unable to pay salaries. The roads are bad. The airports having potholes. Everywhere is in disarray. They should face their work. They should deal out the president and the vice president, acting president from the deal. They should know from the current statement of the vice president, the dice is cast. And case closed. They should face their work. And thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor, for calling in. I like that. The die is cast.
Yeah, exactly, with that statement. So
with that statement.
So clear.
So we now know where we are, and we quite frankly know who is being obstructionist, let it be said.
Yes.
You know, this is why I say that the National Assembly has to find a way now to maneuver the whole public relations jungle that it has put itself in. That would be my impression.
And the problem that I have is that is in the constituents of the National Assembly. Who are the members? A lot of them have a lot of issues about integrity around them. So that is the way I see it. And they would do everything and anything to protect their turf, to cover their ground.
And we're all listening to this. We're all seeing what's going on. And we all know it's not right.
It's not right.
But we know that the law is there. And so there's this whole barbed wire fence of the law, which you have to, negotiate very, very carefully. Nike calling in from Ogba. Good morning, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Good morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Well done for the good job you are doing there.
Very kind of you.
My whole conclusion is this one. Senate, they have failed this nation because they are not doing the right thing. Look at Emelaye's case. The consent said they don't want him, and they are still insisting that he should stay. The Nigerian people said they want Magu, and they said they don't want him because they have skeleton in their cupboard, because corruption is fighting back, because he is looking into their cases and they are afraid of him. Because I don't know why they cannot confirm him, and I don't know what is the problem about this Magu and Senate. Senate are just there to do their own selfish way of favoring themselves. Every law is for them. It's not for Nigerians. They don't do what they like there. And I pray that one day Nigerians will go there and chase them out of that place. I think that is the best thing for us. Because these people, they are not serious. And the Senate leader is not a serious man. He's a corrupt man. And he does not want people that will sanitize Nigeria. And God will take this nation from their hand in Jesus' name. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Nike, for calling in. Dr. Tunji Abayomi has, actually reminded us, in case we missed it, that, look, the power to, appoint and remove is completely in the presidency, in the president's hands. Now, this thing that the National Assembly is doing effectively is usurping that particular aspect of the act, because they are saying no, so they want to remove Magu. They don't have the right to remove Magu.
That's wrong. That's wrong. That's emphatically the prerogative
of the president.
Under the Constitution.
Exactly. Yakub, good morning, sir.
Good morning once again. Dr. good morning, sir.
Good morning.
And then the chairman of Sarah, I greet you all, sir.
Good morning.
I have a question to ask Dr. Abayomi because he's in the right position to give us answer.
Yes.
Sir, it doesn't mean that if the Senate House, as they call themselves, even though I don't believe they are hollow chamber, they call them hollow, they are not hollow anything. If they fail to go to court to challenge that they have the right to confirm anybody, and then start to say the presidency failed to go to court to make sure that they have the right to withdraw anything that they don't confirm. They should leave the president continue acting. Doesn't mean Nigerian citizens as a taxpayer cannot go to court. That is point number one. Number two, sir, for the fact that these people are behaving like this, what right do we have? Now that we say what are recalling them, and then they are telling us that we cannot do that. What again we have in our is that to mobilize ourselves to drop them out of that place, because somebody come from Ikeja, George, he mentioned some senators there. If for that, Sani is there. I totally disappointed in the Sani of this world. Marafa is there. Now Marafa is not speaking the language of Senate President now because they are giving him duty position. See, in this country, until Nigerian citizens take our lands to our hands, these people, it is unfortunately that we are not voting for this what we are getting. And then remain just 2 years. If it is up to 2 years, I can tell you, if Saraki still remains Senate President, we can never get what we voted for. Thank you and God bless you.
All right, thank you very much for calling in. You see, it comes back to Senator Saraki. There's no, look, if it is my thinking, as I said, standing on the outside here, that if Senator Saraki wanted to steer the whole thing, in the more reasonable way, he could do it. It's easy. But of course, Senator Saraki is going to be saying that it's the National Assembly, my hands are tied and all of that kind of thing. Nobody's going to believe that. So Senator Saraki himself, what kind of a member of the ruling APC is he? Is a question that comes up for the umpteenth time. Is it a fair question, do you think, Tokumbo?
It's like I said earlier, the circumstances and the big bats that
the circumstances of the emergence of Senator Saraki as the
and
Senate
the big
President.
bad that had occurred ever since is a major factor in this matter. And therefore, the Senate President, I think, is trying to take it personal. He has cornered most of the Senate members, and it's unfortunate that they are not, in my opinion, loyal to the Constitution, loyal to the people of Nigeria, who desire that there must be change and it must be positive.
Chudi in Kafanchan, Kaduna, good morning, sir. Chidi, I beg your pardon. Good morning, sir.
Yes, my very good morning also to Dr. Tunde G. Abayomi.
Thank you.
In fact, I want to thank him so very much for educating Nigerians over the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as to what rights does one have in the Constitution. You see, as a matter of my own personal opinion, and from what I can understand from Dr. Abayomi this morning, the Constitution is very, very clear on how to appoint and how to remove.
Yes.
I would wish that the executive, as well as the legislature, should understand what the Constitution is talking about in this regard. And when they have this understanding, let them work synergy in order to move our nation forward and not to create unnecessary anxiety, particularly this time around that our dear president is not on the ground. So I support totally and holistically what the acting president has said as a learned person. Let this country move forward.
Indeed.
That is my take this morning.
Thank you very much.
Good morning to you, Uncle Yori,
Indeed.
and your panel.
Thank you very much for calling in, sir, and for your comments. Senator Saraki, quite frankly, there are those who, when we talk about there's no absolute power, and so there are these checks and balances, it does seem as if Senator Saraki's Senate, because I think that's one of the ways you can put it, Senator Saraki's Senate is a law unto itself. And without any oversight, nobody can talk, nobody can, whatever you think, say what you think. We, the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, under Senator Saraki, will have our way. That doesn't sound very constitutional.
The issue really is the perception of the authority. I think the Senate, I'm not sure, completely understands the power vested in the Senate. Now, I noted something, for example...
Could you hold the point, sir? Yes. I beg your pardon. I apologize for interrupting you. Please hold the thought, because I want to bring in Sheriff, who called in from Banjul in the Gambia. Good morning, Sheriff. Sheriff, the Gambia, are you there?
Yes, Uncle Yori, good morning.
Good morning, sir. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you for your enlightenment you've been doing to Nigerians. Yes, Uncle Yori, good morning. Thank you for enlightening us every time. We enjoy this so much every day. Dr. Abayomi, thank you for the good job you've been doing as well. And as well also the chairman of SERA.
Thank you.
Uncle Yori, I think the issue with this is not about even approaching our courts. We even don't trust the courts to come out with the right decisions, even if we need the right interpretations. We saw what happened with the CCT case. It was obvious. Saraki didn't have any justification to be acquitted or discharged. But the courts did. So even if we approach our courts with this, are you sure we're going to get the right result? The judiciary is in a terrible shape itself. The legislators are worse than them. The only sane institution we have right now in Nigeria is the presidency. So we Nigerians need to rise up and support the presidency to get rid of these people. Until people like Sarah lead these people to the National Assembly and shut it down. Uncle Yori, we are not going to get out of this mess. It's so terrible.
Indeed.
We outside there, we feel it. We all want to come back home. But with situations like this, how are we going to come back home? Uncle Yori, it's a very, 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 very terrible situation for us in Nigeria.
Indeed.
It makes us sad.
Thank you very much for calling in. Appreciate your call. Sorry, I interrupted you.
We keep complaining of shutting down the National Assembly, but we created the National Assembly. We must not forget that we voted for the members of the National Assembly. We must also not forget the condition of the people of this country. I have run for political office. And I know that our people will go to the pit of hell in order to get money, in order to vote. I am disturbed that the issue of value or even valuation of the political process has become foreign to the thinking of our people. So if we are saying that, oh, we don't want the National Assembly, we'll shut it down, the same National Assembly, same members, they will be running in another within 3 years. They will use the money to buy votes, and our people will be anxious to vote for them. Okay. So we must also hold ourselves responsible for the type of National Assembly we have as a people.
That one is a very, very complex one. We could spend about 2 hours on that on its own. But I got to bring Mr. Johnson calling in from Amu Odofi. Good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to you, to contribute to this program. Yes. I just observed something. This program, you've been enlightening Nigeria, and we appreciate it. But there's something going on which I think we should look at both sides of the coin. Okay. Now, when you look at what is going on in the National Assembly versus the Presidency, every time you come up with all these issues, it boils down to what is our judiciary doing about all these cases. Now you see how Saraki was acquitted. Now you now see what is coming from the Presidency. Okay? It is obvious that the Presidency always want to save their own. Therefore, the National Assembly also will want to save their own. So it's a battle that Nigerians need to come together to see how we can rescue our nation. Because the way I'm saying this is somehow lopsided, that everybody are just talking the good of the Presidency. We are not looking at even the corruption under the nose of the Presidency, which they are also covering. So I think it's a both sides. As we are blaming the National Assembly, so also is the Presidency. They are covering their own. So how dare we, Nigerians, saying that the National Assembly should not cover their own? Look at what happened in the arrest of the judges. They also noticed that the Presidency is covering their own, the National Assembly covering their own, so let us cover our own too. So it's only the poor Nigerian, the common Nigerian that is suffering this one. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Johnson, for calling in. Look, Tokubo, somebody brought up, was it, if not Mr. Johnson, maybe the person that spoke just before him, that the judiciary that we're all saying we depend on now, that they will be the arbiter when there are issues between the other two arms. Even that one self, as our people say, even that one self, how much can you rely on it, going by examples that are being cited? And I say this without prejudice to the fact that we know, we that are unlearned, we don't always understand the workings of the land. We just think that's a stupid decision, but you say that's because you don't know law. That's because you don't know law. I understand that. So without prejudice to that, there are people who are apprehensive about the caliber, shall I say, and leave it at that, of the judiciary we have at the moment.
Let me say, from what I know about the judiciary, I may be wrong, but what I feel is that if the matter, like what we are saying, goes directly to the Supreme Court, I think the likelihood is that we'll have a clear and unbiased statement of the law in respect of this issue.
Okay, but sorry, sir. When Senator Saraki was on trial, didn't most people feel that, having been following it, we know how this is going to end up? There's no other way now. And then we actually were astounded by a no-case, the decision.
You see, that is a level in the judiciary. Okay. You are entitled to go further. Okay. To test the integrity of the higher judiciary. You can even go further when the Court of Appeal says you agree with, we agree with the tribunal.
So that was just, that was one level.
One level. Okay. We still have 2 more levels to go. Okay. Yes.
So
I believe that but it is.
But the point being made that, look, we don't understand this judiciary. That is laymen.
No, as a matter
of fact, non-lawyers, ordinary citizens saying that we do not understand this decision.
You see, I believe that perception is almost everything.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I've been holding on to Frank from Ikorodu. Good morning, sir, and apologies. Frank Ikorodu.
Hello?
Mr. Frank, good morning, sir.
Yes. Good morning, Mr. Ediori.
Please go ahead.
Yeah. You see, when we see some of these arguments like this, there's a legal option on this presidency versus Senate issue. Why not go to the court? Let the court interpret whether if Magu is confirmed, he should stay, or if it's not confirmed, he should leave, so that we be at rest, because it's not even helping Nigeria. You get me? That's exactly what I want to say.
All right, then. Thank you very much. Like civilized peoples that we are, we should just take all of these matters to the courts and let the court resolve it. Well, you've also explained to us how it's whose prerogative it is to go to court. If you're in possession, you don't have a problem.
Yes.
It's the person contesting your possession that has the problem. Yes. So because of that, it's the National Assembly that should approach the court.
That's my
Mr. George, who called in at the very top of the program, I said that he knows this National Assembly and it's not going to go anywhere near the court. Now, the other aspect of the people's agitation. If you look at social media, Facebook, there are some groups saying that, look, let's get ourselves together. We have to go and beyond all these things we're talking on television, on radio, on newspapers. Let them see us. Let's stop. Let them know that we are aggrieved. We don't understand you. This is not what we voted you for. This kind of social protest.
I think we need, first of all, a form of mental purgation. In my view, among our people.
Oh dear.
That's the truth. Because I do not see how this nation is going to be redeemed until we have mental redemption by the people. Democracy is about the people's right to choose and to put in place in the legislative their representatives, or even in the executive. But an unconscious people can barely make democracy work. And this is the true situation. What is going to happen? I was explaining this in one instance, I think in one of the television stations. Those of us that went to jail many, many times, people like me that went 3 times, one for 1 whole year, losing almost 5 years, in the struggle to democracy, it was based on the principle that our people have nothing. They have no house, they have no car, they have. But if we can win for them the right to vote, they have all the powers.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Because they can now decide to raise good leaders and bring down good leaders. But they can raise their own children to do something that are sympathetic.
So look at what we've done with that power that was struggled for.
But what has happened is that the same people, what I call the corrupt, pitiless oligarchy, who usurp all the money that is meant for the development of the people, come back to the people and glitter with these glittering currencies. The people are deceived.
Okay.
And they are until our people, because we spend so much time talking of leadership in this country. But we spend very little time talking about the followership.
Yeah, okay.
The problem of this nation is just as compound with the leadership cadre as it is with the constituency of followership that elect leaders. And it is important that instead of moving to the National Assembly, we should dialogue among ourselves. What kind of leaders do we want? What kind of nation do we want? The people themselves must come to a firm understanding and realization of the character of Nigeria that they want.
Okay, Dr. Otunji Abayomi, thank you very much. And we're going to have to leave it there because we've completely run out of time. Did you want to add anything in this about 10 seconds? Or you?
What I just want to tell Nigerians is that they must be conscious of whatever they do in electing the leader they want.
Okay, indeed. Thank you very much. And as people in the struggle always say, I guess in this one, maybe Nigerians' attitude is going to be that of aluta continua. Victoria, etc. Let's leave it at that. Thank you very much, Dr. Tunji Abayomi and Mr. Adetokunbo Mumuni. That's our program for the day and indeed the week. I am Yori Folani. Bye-bye for now.
I think this is gone.